Hi, everybody. I'm here with Graham Elwood, Robert Yasamura, Hank Thompson, and Steph Zamorano. We're talking about Castro passed away, and, you know, the government in America tells you that Castro was bad, and he's hated, and he's a dictator, and he's brutal as people. That's all I ever heard growing up, and he's bad, 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 and that's why they have to drive cars from 1950 in Cuba. I don't know. That's why. So here's Human Rights Watch tweeted this out. Many of the abusive tactics developed during Castro's time in power, including surveillance, beatings, arbitrary detention, and public acts of repudiation, are still used by the Cuban government. That was by Human Rights Watch. That was their quote of the day on the death of Fidel Castro. I don't really know who the fuck the people are at the Human Rights Watch are, but they really have no sense of irony or hypocrisy or whatever the F else I could say about that, because do you notice the United States literally runs a torture facility in Cuba called Guantanamo Bay? Do you know why we do that there?
Because
you know
it's the place we can do it. It says right there.
They can do it. That's why we go there, because we can do it there. Because our Constitution doesn't apply to Cuba, so we can do those things that would be illegal if our government did them inside the United States. That's why we send those people to Cuba instead of sending them to Florida or a supermax prison here, because you can't torture people in America under the Constitution.
That's why I hated the embargo, because I wanted to travel to Cuba to torture people. I wanted to go on a vacation where I spied on my friends. And
what are we supposed to do with these terrorist criminals? Just give them cable TV and a spa treatments and just let them run, just let them whatever they want? Hot tubs and...
just give them 3 square meals a day.
You put them in a suit. Has anybody seen what a supermax prison in the United States looks like?
No one's ever escaped from a supermax prison.
They're the worst places in the world.
Yeah.
American prisons are horrific.
I mean, John McCain knows a thing or two about being tortured, said you can waterboard. They'll tell you anything.
Anything you want to hear. If you
torture me, I'm going to tell you whatever you want to hear. Right. Eventually, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. He even cited a specific quote-unquote known terrorist that was tortured this way and gave out false information, and they went on a boondoggle, and it's just like...
That's why you don't do it, because it renders bad information.
Right.
Also, because it's immoral. Because if you stare into the abyss will stare back into you. That's why you don't torture. Not because of who they are, but because of who we are. Anyway.
Because if you are a person torturing another human being,
you're also it's the tortured souls who want to torture themselves.
Yeah, you're there's something wrong.
Unless they have a safety word, in which case it is acceptable.
No, I mean, if you whack off on the guy, it's okay. That's like a weekend.
If you're into ice cream facials, then definitely Cuba's the place for you.
Yeah.
Great.
Guantanamo Bay.
Oh man, if you got just get into a 1950s car, going at it with
that music.
Nothing but some good Latin music and
you got a Cuban beat. So here's what I like about,
and some plantains too.
Here's what I like about Twitter. Is that in normal life, like when you would watch a news report and you would know that they're obviously bullshitting, or maybe you didn't know, or you saw them say something, there was nothing you could do.
You yell at the TV and no one heard you.
Yes, you'd yell at the TV and no one heard you, which is why I started doing this show. Now people can hear me when I yell at the TV. But now when you do something like when Human Rights Watch does this on Twitter, people notice, and this is immediately they say, here's a guy, President, he's responding to Human Rights Watch. Philippines President Duterte, abusive, war on drugs, bankrolled by the U.S. government cash. So this is from BuzzFeed reported that BuzzFeed News found that officers at police stations receiving support from the United States have played a central role in Duterte's bloody campaign. By comparing Philippine police data with internal State Department records, it is clear that many of the stations, especially those in the capital city of Manila, are collectively responsible for hundreds of deaths. Oh, you mean the United States is then supporting an oppressive, murderous regime again somewhere else in the country? Of course, that's all we do. Here's some more people.
I like, though, real quick,
ahead.
Human Rights Watch retweeted that one. Like, I'll give them props for that. They retweeted his... Yeah. babe, that's beautiful. They went, all right. I'll give Human Rights Watch props for that.
Me too.
Do I give money? I give Human Rights Watch money. I think I give Amnesty money. I mean, they're pretty nonpartisan. They go like, hey, there's some crappy things going on here. I don't care if they're Cubans or Soviets. Or...
I want to say this about everybody talking about how evil Fidel Castro was. And yes, it's good you're pointing out that America does the same thing. What always made me so goddamn mad was liberals wearing Che Guevara fucking shirts at there was a some peace company or something like that selling those shirts in Venice Beach and Santa Monica. And I went up and I said, he was part of torturing a lot of people for Castro. Like he was a button man for Castro. Oh, people like the shirts, is what the woman said to me.
That's why I wore the shirt
at the street fair in Venice Beach, and I was like, okay, dipshits. Like, don't just. You want to put a Chairman Mao shirt? Do you know how many people he fucking tortured? Like, that drove me goddamn nuts.
How about my Obama T-shirt? Should I get rid of that?
Yes.
So here, there's more. So other people caught this. Guy named says same crap happens in the U.S. Same goddamn thing. So that's where we got them from. Right underneath that. See, that's where we got them from. Here's a right in a row. I have never seen a notice about the USA's torture, arbitrary detention, etc. Have you become whores for the oligarchy? Next one. Guantanamo is calling, but it was called enhanced interrogation. Now, underneath that. And these very tactics are being used in North Dakota, USA right now. Same could be. So people are on to this bullshit that's happening. And do you have water on the brain or something, buddy? What are you describing? What are you describing sounds like what's happening in the U.S. right now.
But those things aren't mutually exclusive, Jimmy.
What do you mean?
You can say like Fidel Castro was a piece of shit, and also the United States policies are a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Those aren't mutually. It's not like.
Yeah, but what these people are saying is that you. I've never seen you tweet about how horrible the United States is.
So the criticism is that Human Rights Campaign should be making similar tweets about the U.S. That's the complaint? Because I agree with Robert that they are both, they're not mutually exclusive. It's true. Castro was awful, and the U.S. has done awful shit.
Yeah, so my whole point is it's like, I guess the Human Rights Watch is right to do that, I guess. They're right to tweet that out and make that point wherever there's torture happening or wherever oppression is happening. I guess my point is that it's just ironic that we're wagging our finger at a country like Cuba, this tiny little. By the way, Castro is seen as a hero around the world to poor, repressed people. He is, that's why. By the way, the reason why, according to Chomsky, was the reason why we normalized our relationships with Cuba wasn't because we're being nice or Barack Obama's being nice. It was because because of our embargo and continued what we're doing to Cuba. The rest of the hemisphere was turning their backs on us, and they were getting together and planning shit without us. And so it was like we needed to get back in to the good graces of the rest of the hemisphere. This is according to Chomsky.
Sure.
So this wasn't a big magnanimous thing.
But I just say this, like there's people in Little Havana in Miami celebrating because there's people who are like, yeah, you tortured my grandmother.
Yes. A lot of people say this about that the Cubans in America who hate Fidel. I don't know. I mean, I'm just learning a lot about Fidel Castro because of his death. But they say that those are the rich Cubans who left and they took their money with them.
They're convinced, like, if we can only get back in there, we can get our shit back. Yeah. It's like, no, it's over. That's been over for a little while.
So that's who they say came to Florida. Those the rich Cubans, and that's why they're angry at. So I don't. I mean, I'm sure he was an oppressive. I wonder how much. I mean, I'd like to. I have to look into it more. I was surprised. We did a story about it yesterday here on the show that I didn't know he was worldwide was seen. The chairman of the Nelson Mandela Foundation gave this ringing. What do you call it when you die?
Obituary.
Eulogy. Yes, ringing. A ringing eulogy of and endorsing what he meant to people and how he was a hero to the oppressed. And I was like, I never knew that because you never hear this shit in the United States. And that was the guy who was the chairman of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Remember? Weren't you surprised by that, Alexa, when we did that yesterday? Were you here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But no, it's true. I mean, like, look. When he was a revolutionary, he did help overthrow an oppressive regime.
Batista.
And he brought He brought equality to a lot of very poor people, brought a lot of health care. He equalized and stabilized that country. I have no problems with that. And actually,
And he tortured and fucking a lot of people.
Let's understand that there are a lot of world leaders who looked at through one prism are horrific human beings and looked at through another are extraordinary. Yes. Let's remember, Winnie Mandela personally fucking tortured people.
Yes.
She put tires around their necks, filled it with gasoline, and lit it on fire. So
Wait a minute, now that's fashion.
Okay.
Now, if someone has a nice necklace, like, let's not...
And I don't know if you know, he did divorce her for that.
Okay, it is a little bit of a deal breaker.
Remember Chris Rock's joke about that? About Nelson Mandela, 29 years. He got no problem. I can do it. 29 years, every day, solitary. I could do it, no problem. He gets out within like 6 months. He's with his wife. He's like, "Oh no, I can't do this shit." I think that was Chris Rock's joke. That's hilarious. Anyway, there you go. Human Rights Watch.
But I mean, just don't look at him as all hero or all bad guy.
You're right. It's a mixed bag with Fidel Castro.
I think it's a mixed bag.
I think it's a mixed
with
bag.
any leader. I think you could say that with any leader.
With the exception of like Hitler, it's pretty much any leader.
Hitler was nice to dogs.
He poisoned his own dog.
He was a vegetarian.
Yeah.
He did poison his own dog?
Yeah, that was one of his last acts on the earth was
poisoned his
testing.
dog?
He was testing the poison that he was going to use on himself. He tested it on his dog, Shotzi, and then it worked. He killed his dog, and he went, "Okay, it'll work."
Wow, he
Well,
really
maybe-
was a jerk.